Hi friends, welcome to my new video. As you can tell, I've been doing a lot of airbrushing lately, so I'm excited to show you guys how I figured out how to cut my own stencils on my Cricut. I love being able to cut my own stencils so that I can do jobs, meet my clients' expectations, and then, just be able to make things on the go, like this hat. Now I use this, the Cricut Maker 3. That's the one that I have that I use. So I'm going to show you how I do it. So I use this stuff. It's called clear acetate sheets. And just make sure you peel off the protective plastic. Now there's lots of materials. That's the one I use. Now, if you don't peel off that plastic, it'll ruin your Cricut. Then I also use this. It is called the Cricut Smart Paper Sticker Cardstock. So when I'm doing like basketballs and I need a stencil to stick, I use that. It's paper, so you're not going to get a million uses out of it like plastic, but it's great. Last thing you're going to really need is this standard grit board, and this is when you're cutting the stencils. You don't need it for this cardstock paper, but you will need it for the stencils because it holds the acetate in place. As you can see, it's kind of hard to get off when you have nails. You're also going to need Cricut Design Space. So once you open Cricut Design Space up, I'm going to show you how I build a stencil, and we cut it so that it is actual a stencil. So there's no floating pieces, because floating pieces won't work when you're trying to airbrush. So let's just think about a simple design or one that you might want to use or make for a customer. I've been doing a lot of basketballs lately, so I'm going to show you how to cut this super cool basketball stencil. So you want to open up Cricut, the canvas area, and then go to images and click on images. And if you have a pro membership, you're going to have access to all these free clip art. If you don't, you just pay for them. They're not expensive. Like you can see, some of them are $6, some of them are 99 cents. So I pay the membership. I like it. I think it's worth it, but it is up to you guys. All right, so I like this one. It's kind of like a splatter basketball, but it's cool. So all you have to do is just click it. It's going to turn green. As you see, that one's 99 cents, so it's not really expensive. Once you click it, it's going to turn green. You're going to put Add to Canvas. And once you add it to canvas, what it's going to do is it's going to bring it to your design board. As you can see, it's really big, so you need to make it smaller. So using the corners, I'm just going to kind of bring it all the way down to a reasonable size. So you can see the little numbers moving at the top in that black box. That tells you how big it is. So like a 4x4 is a good size, still kind of big for a tattoo, but for an arm, it's really good. If you're going to be doing a shirt, using it that way, you'll want it even bigger. So the first thing you want to do is bring that in. Then I'm going to go to shapes, and I'm going to pick up a square, and I'm going to stretch it over my design. Now this is going to act as the border. And if you know anything about airbrush stencils, you need a big enough border to catch the overspray so that you don't leave a weird edge. So I, went and I arranged it, meaning I sent the square to the back so that I can see the basketball again. And then what I'm going to do is click on the basketball to center it, because again, you want about 1 inch, if you can, around all the edges, or even a ½ inch, just so that when you spray, you don't get overspray. And that's your design area. So it helps catch any of that extra paint that might be, floating around without getting a weird overspray. All right, so once you have your nice edges, then what you're going to do is you're going to I like to make sure it's centered. So once you have it centered and everything, it's time to think about the stencil. So essentially, all these edges are not connected to the basketball. So when you go to cut it, what's going to end up happening is they're going to be called floating pieces. And you don't want that, because then it's not a stencil. You'll see what I mean. So what you want to do is you want to select by dragging over everything. So now you selected both the background and it. You're going to go over here to where it says slice, and you're going to slice. I clicked it too many times. I apologize about that. So you sliced it, and now I'm just going to turn off all of those extra layers that I don't need. See where it says slice result? I don't need all of those because I just need to see what's going to cut. So essentially, this slice tells you what you're going to cut. So now you can kind of see what I mean by that basketball in the middle is not connected to the it's not connected to the basketball. So what's going to happen is when you go to cut it, that basketball is just going to be floating in thin air, and then you'll have this big blob. So instead of making it a two-part stencil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build something called bridges. So I pick another square, and I'm going to shrink it down to where it's a line and make it smaller. So look at how tiny it is, kind of just like, space bar. Then I start connecting it to the blob. And these are called bridges. So I'm working on a Mac. So I press, I think it's Command C and Command V. That's copy and paste. And then I'm just going to start building bridges that attach the ball to the background of the stencil. So that way, when it goes to cut, it's going to cut these little bridges so that it's not floating anymore. So what that means is that instead of the ball being one piece and the blob being one piece, you're going to have them all connected. So if you want to rotate, you have to kind of scroll over until you get that round arrow, and that's going to rotate it for you. And then again, I'm just going to connect it to, kind of some of these points on the basketball. And I like to put at least 4 bridges in to make it sturdier. You don't have to, but I like it like that. Then one thing you're going to notice is those little the little lines and bridges we just put in. Yes, you're going to have those little lines in a stencil, but if you practice, when you finish airbrushing, you can just fill them in, like color right over those gaps. But it's going to take you a lot less long as it would to do it in 2 parts. All right, so once you have all of your bridges in, where you put in enough to where you feel comfortable, next thing that you want to do is now you're going to have to kind of make it in one piece. So again, I'm just going to click and highlight everything. Now I highlighted everything. I'm going to go back to the bottom to where it says combine, and I'm going to hit weld. So weld means that it's going to make it all one layer. So now you see, now it's one layer. Now you can see that those little bridges made it into a stencil. Now the basketball is not floating around. So it's like, boom, yay. Now I have an actual stencil, like a one-piece stencil that's going to make your life so much easier. So after this, you're like ready to print, which is the cool part, right? You're ready to go cut it. And at this point, you're going to decide, of course, like what paper you're going to use. Are you going to use acetate? Are you going to use the craft paper? That part is going to be up to you. So once you know what paper that you want, you're going to click on make. And then if I'm going to be cutting on the acetate, then I need a mat. So I'll click on mat, and then it's 12 by 12, and then confirm. And then it's going to bring it up on what you should be cutting on, which is the thing I showed you, which is a smart board. It's going to show you how big the cut area is. It's going to be cutting in the top left corner. Hit continue. Now is where you need to choose the material. So the acetate is just not as a default right there. You can make it a default. So you go to browse all materials, and then at the top click in acetate, and that should just come up. So it's the first one, not the second one. And done. And then that tells your blade or which blade you should be using. And then all you have to do is load it into your Cricut and start cutting. That's it, guys. That's literally all you have to do to make this awesome. So of course you have to like hit the settings, meaning like hit the play button, hit those like follow number 2 as you can see on the screen, and then you're going to be cutting your stencil. So you are going to watch it cut. It should not take, longer than 2 or 3 minutes. And then once it's done, you are going to just peel up your stencil from your smartboard. And then you'll use it. And it's going to be awesome because... So as you can see here, I used it on these hats. Like you can see this basketball right here that I cut and used, and it made this event so much smoother, largely in part because I wanted to cover a lot of area and minimize all the wording that I had to do. So I cut the Miami Heat stencil, I cut the basketball stencil, and what a difference it made. In just 1, my client was super happy because they have branded stuff. 2, it didn't take me that long and it didn't cost me much. much. You know, a 10-pack of the acetate I think was like $8. So you can get quite a lot out of it. It's a great way to surprise your clients or upsell them if you want to charge them for your time to design stencils. But I highly recommend it once you know how to do it. It's going to make your life so much easier, and hopefully you'll tag me in your videos and show me how amazing you are. So don't forget, you can get all the best supplies at Silly Farm. I worked really hard to bring e-tack to our store to make sure we have a really good product to airbrush on hats, t-shirts, basketballs, footballs, whatever. It's an amazing paint that you don't have to thin. You are going to love it. So that I'm really proud of. And don't forget, we have airbrushes. I have complete airbrush systems and lots of classes to help you learn this art on Faba TV. Thanks for joining me today. I love you guys, and I hope you're enjoying your Cricut. All right, have a great day. Bye, everyone.